Time to battle, I'll find them all. I felt the whips and remember chains, but my soul has been forged by my father's flames. Fight your fears and heal your pain, and victory will be in your name.
I used to be weak, but I'm not weak no more. I found the strength of my ancestors deep down in my African core. To be frightened, I'm not afraid no more. The Father blessed me with the heart of a lion and a warrior soul. So no weapon that form against I shall not prevail, and no man that rise against I shall never win, 'cause I will conquer, oh I will conquer, yes I will conquer them, come on let's conquer, oh I will conquer, rise up and conquer them, tell them no retreat, no surrender, I shall fight till the end of days, I was born as a Makai warrior, and the Almighty God my blade, fire burn all Satan carrier, I sense all shackles and chain. This morning first thing as I wake up, King David turned Sam to the brain. Don't let your courage go down, keep it up, and if your heart rip up and stitch it up, don't let your faith them fall, pick it up. When my cup was empty, God fill it up. Don't take the devil contract, rip it up, and if your bad mind people to go meet it up, pass me the Congo drum and let me beat it up. God on my side, me no give it up. So no weapon that form against I shall not prevail, and no man that rise against I, that war they shall never win, 'cause I will conquer, oh I will conquer, yes I will conquer them, come on let's conquer, oh I will conquer, rise up and conquer them. Thank you, Father. I want to say thank you, Lord. You're everything, Father. Thank you.
Father, you alone shall guide me. No man shall lead my path. In the wind I hear your quiet whispers, and you heal my broken heart. Even some of my friends turn enemies, and they pray for right to fail. And remember you gave us your only begotten son, but we gave him the wound of lies. Send down your warriors with the hello, they carry down to the end of days. No matter how the devil try trick me, unto you my soul I will give. Father, I know this storm is coming, I can see the high tide raise. Without you there is no other. Could it be that we is my soul?
No weapon that form against I shall not prevail, and no man that rise against I, that war they shall never win, 'cause I will conquer, oh I will conquer, yes I will conquer them, come on let's conquer, oh I will conquer, rise up and conquer them.
I am a man, I am a champion, I am a warrior. So who are you to tell me that I cannot make? Who are you to tell me that I am not the greatest thing that God ever created?
Good morning, Grenada, Carriacou, and P.T. Martinique. You're listening to Hard Talk Grenada. A very special good morning to those of you joining us on 97.5 CitysoundFM, 89.5 CRFM, 92.9 Sister Isle Radio broadcasting from Hillsborough, Carriacou, and of course 94.9 We Noise Radio out there in Brooklyn, New York. A very special good morning to those of you joining us on the live video, whether it's on Facebook, YouTube, or Instagram. We're happy to have you. We'd like you to go ahead and share the live. Invite your friends, invite your family members. We have a very interesting topic today, a topic that's on the tip of everybody's tongue, and that is the stimulus package. All right, we know everybody has questions. Who is entitled? What are the procedures? If it's actually being fulfilled, I know those are questions that we all have. So, of course, with that in mind, and you know we are always here to deliver, we have invited from the Ministry of Finance, Ms. Chanel Andrews. She is the Strategic Program Manager at the Inland Revenue Division, all right, and she's assigned to the COVID-19 Economic Support Secretariat. So she'll be calling in at about 11:15 to answer our questions, basically, and to provide us with information, because you know that's always my goal. My goal is to always provide the listening public with as much information as is possible, and of course from credible sources. So those of you who have questions, small business owners, persons who would have worked in the hotel industry, the tourism industry, bus owners as well, you are encouraged to tune in. You are encouraged to listen. Of course, we're not able to take calls, but what we will do is we are going to allow you to post your questions to the live feed in the comment section, and we will be more than happy to post those questions to Miss Andrews when she calls in. So please keep that in the back of your mind. Call somebody, tell somebody, invite somebody, and let everybody be a part of this conversation, because it is important. It is knowledge that we need to have. Sometimes we hear a lot of hearsay and they say and he say and she say out there, and then when the credible information is available to us, we don't tune in and we don't listen, so we're stuck believing a lot of the propaganda, or a lot of the lies, or even just simple misconceptions. We're stuck believing those. So we want to encourage you to tune in and to listen into what she has to say and to the information that she's about to provide us with. Of course, we want to encourage you, to inform you. It's been blowing up social media so far that the Spice Mass Corporation has made the decision, of course, in collaboration or from collaborating with the health officials, to cancel Spice Mass 2020, and I'll read the release to those of you who have not yet seen it. Grenada, like the rest of the world, is dealing with the wide-ranging effects of COVID-19, not only on public health but the local economy, but also our way of life. While great effort has been made by the local authorities to manage the spread of the disease, an event the size and nature of our carnival can give rise to the often touted second wave of COVID-19 and further impact the lives and livelihoods of Grenadians. It is against this backdrop that the Spice Mass Corporation has decided to cancel Spice Mass 2020. This difficult decision was finalized after discussions with our public health officials and other stakeholders. Spice Mass Corporation is fully cognizant of the impact of this decision on our many stakeholders, but we are confident that it is indeed the right decision to safeguard public health and safety. Further, we are optimistic that the cancellation provides an extended time frame for us to plan and execute a bigger and better Spice Mass 2021. We look forward to your eager support and wholehearted involvement in making Spice Mass 2021 the biggest and best ever. As we all work together to flatten the curve and banish this disease from our country and region, we urge all our stakeholders and supporters to follow the measures which have been recommended so that we can quickly recover and continue building a safe, strong, and resilient Grenada. And that is the release by the Spice Mass Corporation on the cancellation of Spice Mass 2020. I know it is hitting a few people hard who were still hoping, with their fingers crossed, that we would still be able to execute Spice Mass 2020. But given the circumstances of this situation, and of course looking at the virus and its dynamics, the information that is coming from all over the world, it is the best decision to make at this time, because we don't want a second wave. We can't handle a second wave. We are managing through a first, and we definitely can't handle a second. So let us please take that into consideration as we move forward and we continue to do our best to do what is necessary to fight the virus. All right. Yesterday or last night, the Minister for Health and our COVID coordinator, the Minister, Honorable Nicholas Steele, and the COVID coordinator, Mr. George Mitchell, was on Beyond the Headlines, and of course delivered information to the general public, gave some people an opportunity to ask questions. I don't even want to comment on some of the questions, but gave us an opportunity to comment, to ask questions, things that we needed to know, you know. And I want to urge the general public that whenever these interviews, press conferences, or whatever it is happens, it is important that we sit, because we know beforehand that it's coming, sit and properly plan out our questions or what we want to say or what information we are trying to get. And that is going to help with a lot of the, I want to put this nicely because I don't want anybody to misinterpret what I'm saying, but it would take away a lot of the unnecessary statements. I couldn't find a better way to put it. The unnecessary statements. So we had people calling and saying how they believe that government is hiding the true numbers. And I mean, I really thought we were past that stage of thinking. I really thought so. Apparently we are not. But let's hope that not everybody is thinking along those lines. And as the minister said, if that were the case, then we would see a higher rate of infection and we would be in a worse position that we are in now as a society dealing with the virus, if the virus had made its mark in earlier months. So let us be grateful for the fact that we do not see mass infections. Let's be grateful for the fact that the ministry is doing all that it can, Ministry of Health is doing all that it can to coordinate and to inform the general public as to the effects of the coronavirus and put plans in place to help us deal with it. But more importantly, that our frontline workers, and you see it's so important because our frontline workers come in so many different shapes and forms in this specific issue, because it's not just the doctors and the nurses and the policemen, but we're looking at the security guards, we're looking at the grocery store attendants, we're looking at the sanitation workers. These are all our essential workers in this time, you know, because they definitely do serve a very, very important purpose. And of course, to their family members, we cannot leave them out because they are feeling the blunt of this. They are the ones who have their families going out there on the front line every single day and have to come back to them, you know, and it definitely is a nerve-wracking experience that I myself cannot even relate to. And most of us are not going to be able to relate to. Somebody sent me a post this morning, and it speaks about us all being in the same ocean. We're experiencing the same wave, but we are not all in the same boat. And I wish I could find it to read it to you guys, because it is such a touching piece. And it is so correct. We are all riding the same wave, but we are definitely not all in the same boat. Some of us are handling the situation a lot better than others. There are people out there who, because of financial constraints, are unable to deal with their day-to-day needs, and most of us are able to, so we are all riding the same wave, yes, but we are not all in the same boat. We are not all in the same ship. So we have to keep that in mind, especially in terms of when we're making public comments about a lot of things. We have to keep in mind that we are not... Oh, there it is. I found it. So I heard that we are all in the same boat, but it is not like that. We are in the same storm, but not in the same boat. Your ship could be shipwrecked, and mine might not be, or vice versa. For some, quarantine is optimal, a moment of reflection, of reconnection, easy in flip-flops, with cocktails and coffee. For others, this is a desperate financial and family crisis. For some that live alone, they're facing endless loneliness, while for others it is peace, rest, and a time with their mother, father, sons, and daughters. With the weekly increase of unemployment, some are bringing in more money to their households than if they were working. Others are working more hours for less money due to pay cuts and loss in sales. For some, not getting on with family, domestic abuse is ripe. When we never know what goes on behind closed doors. Some are concerned about getting a certain candy for Easter, while others are concerned if there will be enough bread, milk, or eggs for the weekend. Some want to go back to work because they don't qualify for unemployment and they are running out of money. Others want to kill those who break the quarantine. Some are home spending 2 to 3 hours a day helping their child with online schooling, while others are spending 2 to 3 hours a day to educate their children on top of a 10 to 12 hour workday. Some have experienced the near death of the virus. Some have already lost someone from it. And some are not sure if their loved ones are going to make it. Others don't believe this is a big deal. Some have faith in God and expect miracles during this 2020. Others say that the worst is yet to come. So friends, we are not in the same boat. We are going through a time when our perceptions and needs are completely different. Each of us will emerge in our own way from this storm. It is very important to see beyond what is seen at first glance, not just looking, but actually seeing. We are all on different ships during this storm, experiencing a very different journey. Realize that and be kind. The person who sat and wrote this very powerful piece did some serious reflection on how we are all dealing with this situation. Different in our own ways. So it's about that time. Like I said, we have Miss Chanel Andrew from the Ministry of Finance, and she'll be speaking specifically to the stimulus package, what it involves, what were the challenges, who qualifies, how do you qualify, and also how do you apply to benefit from the stimulus package. All right. So while we await her call, remember your comments can be posted on the live video in the comment section. In addition to that, you're also encouraged to call a friend, call a family member, encourage people that you know need to hear this information. Encourage them to tune in and listen to what is about to be said here, because it's important for us all to realize that in order for us to get through this, we must seek information from a credible source, and that is what we aim to provide here. So from what we understand, a lot of the payments have been made already. Of hundreds of Grenadians have already benefited from the stimulus packages. I know in some cases some of the busmen would have received I believe somewhere in the ballpark of $800 to sustain themselves in this time. I know that one of the challenges that they have expressed before is that most individuals who are affected, and that especially goes for entrepreneurs and for the bus drivers and so on, it is difficult to gauge how much they've been affected financially, simply because it's a private business, and for Grenadians, sometimes we don't take private businesses seriously. You know, we see it as a way of making money, a little panquai, but we don't keep the necessary records as we're supposed to, and so on. So for drivers, if you treat your bus as a business, you sign up with the NIS, you get your social security number, which is really what the NIS is, a means of social security. You get your social security number for you and your conductor as well, you know, and then this would be so much easier. Then you can say, okay, well, I've been paying the NIS, I can apply for the unemployment benefit that they have available because my business has suffered as a result of it. You know, so these are all of the things that we need to take into consideration, and that's why we've been preaching here for the week, about a week and a half, the importance of the NIS, but also the importance of taking your business seriously and treating every little hobby that you do as a business, you know, a legitimate business, not just a way to make money from day to day, which, I mean, if that's what it is to you, then that's okay. But it's also important to make it legit, make it something that you can rely on or benefit from in the future. So we have a caller on the line, and I am very sure that that is Miss Andrews. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning. How are you?
I am good, and good morning to your listeners and viewers as well.
All right. Well, of course, for the interest of time, we're going to get into it because I know that you have a lot of information that you want to provide us with. And, of course, these are questions that the general public has been asking for a very long time, from the announcement of the stimulus package. Everyone had questions, right? But first, we're going to start off with what has already been done. We've heard that there are individuals who have already benefited from this stimulus package. So please enlighten us on, if you can, the numbers of Grenadians that have benefited already.
Okay, so as of Friday, we had over 700 Grenadians thus far benefited from the COVID-19 economic stimulus package that was announced by government. And this measure was put in place to provide some measure of relief from the impact of the current pandemic. And these are applicants under the payroll support program and under the income support program. As we are aware, the beneficiaries would be under the income support or the public bus owners, taxi owners, and tourist vendors. And under the payroll support, it's for hoteliers, restaurants and bars, small travel agents, and other related tourism businesses. And it's for the employees within these businesses.
Okay, so it's sectioned off into payroll support and
income
support. Okay. Now, under the payroll support, that would just explain to us a little bit more about that specific group.
Okay, so the payroll support, we are talking about the employees, the hotel owners or restaurant and bars, etc., the business owners would apply on behalf of the employees. And this program is only for the employees within these businesses. The criteria to qualify, the business should be operational as of March 1st, 2020, and would have hired and paid at least 1 month's salary. They should also be registered with the Inland Revenue Division and the National Insurance Scheme. In the case of the hotels and some restaurants and bars, they must be registered with GTA, which is the Grenada Tourism Authority, where applicable.
Okay. And for the income support, how do you qualify? And explain to us who falls under that bracket.
Okay, so under the income support, we are talking about the public bus owners, the taxi owners, and the tourist vendors. And this is a one-off application as compared to the payroll support where they have to apply every month. So once you own a public bus or you own a taxi, and for the case with taxi and vendors, they must be registered with the Grenada Tourism Authority. For the public buses, you must be the owner, and we have our verification methods to make sure that you're the owner. You apply. All you need to have is NIS registration and a valid piece of ID. For the public buses, we trust that you will have a valid driver's license and NIS registration. For persons who do not have NIS registration, that is okay. You can still apply. We have a collaborative agreement with NIS that they would assist us in doing the registration on your behalf.
Okay, well that's good to know, because I know that one of the difficulties would have been that same NIS registration in the very beginning, not knowing who or how to gauge that income support, because we have a tendency of not understanding the benefit of the NIS.
That's so true.
And it goes way beyond just paying for pension, but to help in situations like this, the unexpected. Now, what were some of the main challenges that, and I must say thank you, first of all, before we continue, to yourself and the entire team, because from what we understand, you guys have not rested since this all started. You guys have been going around the clock, trying to figure out who qualifies, how they qualify, putting pieces together to ensure that everybody benefits at the end of this all.
That's so true, and we appreciate your appreciation for that. And I must commend the general public as well, because they too understand the work behind putting these measures in place, and most time they would call us and commend us for our hard work. I know a lot of persons have been calling this week asking if they got paid, they heard their other colleagues got paid. I just want to inform persons that although we would have published the number of persons that would have received payments on Friday thus far, every day we are processing applications and sending forward for payments. So every day we are sending new names to our finance officers to process for payments. So although you may have not been included in the first batch, that does not mean that you have to wait till month end. Every day we are sending. We still processing applications for April, and we ask persons to please bear some patience with us. Okay? Now, you were talking about some of the challenges. Some of the challenges we have been experiencing is information and data. That is one of the hardest things. For instance, the NIS registration, most of our applicants were not registered for NIS, especially the applicants under the income support. As a business person, businesses know their obligations to their employees, they register with them with NIS, etc. So it's a little more straightforward. But in terms of the NIS registration for the self-employed persons, a lot of persons have not been registered with NIS, and that would have delayed the process a little, because we have to send information to NIS to get them registered, get a identification number for them before we further process the application. So that would have caused some delays. as
So,
well as some persons with their banking information. Persons do not know their bank account number. They get
wow.
confused between the telecard number and the bank account number. Some of them have to contact the bank to get their banking information, etc. Because we are trying to avoid printing checks. We want to send the monies directly to your bank account.
Okay.
Yes, so that has also been posing some challenges. So some of the information that persons need to put on the form is their banking information, the name of the bank, the name that they have on their account. Sometimes we use 3, 4 different names. We want the name exactly as it is on your ID and on your bank account. And also the registration and data from the various institutions.
Okay, so with the NIS, as it stands right now, the bus drivers who don't have an NIS registration, they or they can still apply, and you guys would work with NIS to get them registered to be able to benefit from the stimulus package.
Yes, and they have, I must commend NIS for as well. They have been working along with us to make sure that we can process these applications. They have been assisting with the registration and making the process as smooth as possible. So I must commend them because they are also a key stakeholder in the success of these measures.
Okay. Now we have a lot of entrepreneurs who are into tourism vending. What guidelines are available for them, and do they fall under income support or do they fall under payroll support?
So the tourist vendors fall under income support, and one of the criteria, they must be registered with GTA, and GTA have also been working with us as well, supporting us in this initiative. There are also, I should also mention the taxi association. Some of the associations leaders have contacted us, presidents, etc., contacted us, even the bus association, and they have been assisting us in assisting their members in completing the application. So I must commend them for that.
Okay. Now, you said that the tourism vendors, they have to be registered with the Grenada Tourism Authority. But in the case where, or have you guys seen cases where there are applicants but they are not registered with the Tourism Authority? And if that is the case, what happens in that situation?
Okay, so we have been seeing applications where persons or entrepreneurs, they self-employed, they may not fall under tourist vendors under the GTA listing. They might be doing their own business on a whole for themselves. And I want to encourage persons, although you may not fall under the income and payroll support. Now, we have to remember this is only the first measure that was announced by the government. There are other measures, such as the small hoteliers facility that is available at Grenada Development Bank to support small hotels. So if you are not registered on the GTA, you might be able to qualify under that facility. And we have to remember government is injecting an additional $7 million to that facility. We also have a small business development fund because we have seen application from hairdressers, persons within the construction industry, electricians, etc., from all different categories, because we must admit COVID have affected us all some way or the other, right? Regardless, it's not only the tourist sector, it affected everybody. So we know we expect application from other areas. So I want to remind persons of the other measures. There's a small business development fund also available that persons can tap into. I think the individual, one of the representatives was on your program yesterday and would have explained some more about that facility. And government, again, has injected an additional $5 million to that facility. So persons can reach out to the Grenada Development Bank and a representative from the Small Business Development Fund to find out how they can qualify. And if we have the applications that we have received where persons do not fall under the payroll and income support, we would have redirected them to other measures and other opportunities where they may be able to qualify under.
Okay. And in those cases, what exactly is the number? Because I have an individual here in the live chat who is very concerned. What number do they call, or how do they get in contact with you guys to make their requests, even if it's to be redirected?
Okay, so our contact number at the CIS is 440-0515. That is our direct number. We also have a mobile number, which is 416-0097.
All right, can you give those numbers again, please?
440-0515, and we also have 416-0097.
All right, great. So I'm hoping that the listening audience got that. I also took notes, so I'll make mention of it once again. In terms of conductors, and this is a question that has been asked, and that's why I keep repeating and reiterating. I will continue to reiterate that Grenadians, as small as their business may be, that it is important for them to take their business seriously. So, for example, you have busmen and conductors that operate all willy-nilly, today, tomorrow, and there's no real structure. But that is for some. In other cases, I don't know if you guys have come across it at all, where a busman would have registered his bus as a business and is able to say, this is my conductor, I pay XYZ, and does he qualify for income support?
Okay, so I'm glad you raised that point, because sometimes as a bus, I might own a bus, but I have a driver who works for me, and I have a conductor. Now, the payout that we are giving to the bus drivers is $800 per month. We know this money cannot pay a mortgage, and so that's why there are other measures that you may be able to benefit from. For instance, that the financial sector is given relief in the form of moratoriums, etc. So you can contact your financial institution. But $800 is sufficient that you can buy groceries and feed your family. And of course, government is trying their best to make sure that everybody can benefit. Everybody can get something from the monies available. That's why they could not have put excessive amounts into one measure and then others get left behind. So as a bus owner, we have an employee validation form where we ask that you give something to your driver or your conductor. We have not stipulated the amount you have to give, but is it the expectation that you share whatever you would have received. So from that $800, you could decide, say for instance, I'm driving my own bus and I have a conductor, I can decide how much I'm giving the conductor. And in order for this second disbursement, which is at the end of May, in order to qualify for it, you must submit that employee validation form.
Okay.
State where the conductor or driver, which is your employee, going to declare that they would have received X amount of monies from the money that you would have gotten.
Okay.
Okay?
So will they, I'm trying to, I think I got a little lost in there.
Okay.
So when the driver, or the owner of the bus that is, receives his $800, he would have to, or is it expected of him to provide either the driver or the conductor, in either case, with some of that or a portion of that?
A portion of it. We have not stipulated how much you should give. We trust that you would use your goodwill and decide on a fair amount that you distribute to your driver or conductor, or if it's both, in the case that you have both. Sometimes I might be working, I'm employed in the private sector or public sector. I have a bus, I have somebody driving it for me, then I might tell myself, and that would come down to you, the individual, well, I'm getting my salary, yes, I'm losing income from the bus, but I can say, well, I can give my driver something and give my conductor something, and even if you keep something for yourself, it's okay, but we expect that the money be distributed to your employees as well. because they too are affected.
Right, right. Now, I know there are a lot of people who are going to say that that is not sufficient to, if I own a bus and I have to pay my driver and my conductor, a lot of people are going to say that that is not sufficient. Is there any plans or conversations happening as it relates to who an increase, a possible increase in that for bus owners who have to give out of their disbursement to conductors and drivers?
I do not foresee any possible increase. Some persons, yes, they would express that it's not enough, but I said it comes down to you, the individual, right? We have received persons who have received the monies already have sent in their validation form where they declare the conductor or the driver would have signed saying they did receive something. So it comes back to you, the individual. I mean, government, well, as I said initially, everybody is affected by this pandemic. And of course, we have to make sure that the monies go around to everybody. So we cannot put in too much, government cannot put in too much money into one measure and other sectors are left behind. Right? So for now, I mean, this is the first instance. COVID is not something that anybody expected. All this is totally new to Grenada and to any country that is facing this. So, of course, there would be rooms for improvement. Maybe after we do some assessment, we might realize things could be reallocated and redistributed in other formats. But for now, this is what we have available. This is what have been approved. And we trust that everybody would use their good persona to distribute fairly to their employees. And the same goes to the hotels, etc. The money, government is distributing 40% contribution towards the employee's salary. And it's the expectation that the hotel owners and restaurants and bars, etc., the business owner, would make a contribution as well to the employee's salary.
Okay.
And the employees as well will have to fill out a validation form and submit it to our office declaring that they would have received X amount of monies.
Okay, I have a questionnaire on the live video. What about the people who sell for school children? So we're speaking about the vendors in schools who have been impacted as a result of the lockdown. Are there any measures under the stimulus package to deal with them, or will they be redirected to another source?
Okay, what I can tell them at the moment, they can send in an application or send us an email, because we would not know all the areas that persons are employed. We have all kind of vendors. We have market vendors, tourist vendors, those are the schools, etc. So the more information we have, we would be in a better position to advise or pass the information to our policymakers for them to make a decision. Right? I must also mention that one of the third measure, which was announced by the Prime Minister, which is to work along with the National Insurance Scheme to provide unemployment benefits support.
All right, and I've been trying to get some information from the NIS as it relates to that and who may be able to qualify. But one thing is probably certain is that they need to be registered with the NIS.
They must be registered with the NIS, and I assume they would have to be making some form of contribution prior to COVID-19. And the initial estimated fallout in that area was $10 million. I know this measure is not fully rolled out as yet, but I know the NIS have been in dialogue with us, and they are working, putting the criteria and the process together so persons can apply and benefit under that measure. So persons could contact the National Insurance Scheme for the information on that. I know they would have started initially with a survey because, like I said, COVID is new to everybody. So it's not like we would have had books or data or so on how to implement these measures during this pandemic. So I know they would have started with a survey to gather information, and I know they are working very hard because they have been working along with us on this measure as well as other measures to support the announcement which was made by the Prime Minister. They have also implemented a 2%, they have suspended, the 2% increase in NIS payments for the period. Remember in January they had announced the 2% increase. They have suspended that, and effective this month, persons would see that they are getting back their 2% contribution that would have been deducted.
Okay.
Right? Another measure that has been implemented as well is the 7th measure, which is to suspend monthly advance payment on corporate income tax for the period, and measure 8 to suspend the installment payments on annual stamp tax for the period. And we're talking about the period April to June. That has already been implemented. Companies are not expected to make their monthly advance payment for corporate income tax and monthly installment payments for annual stamp tax for that period. If they wish to make the payments, it's okay. The Inland Revenue is still accepting the payments, but it's not mandated. There's a grace period for that payment. It has been deferred.
Okay. Now, one of the things that were mentioned under the stimulus package was the increased farm labor support, right, to immediately boost the agricultural production island-wide. Now, has that yet been implemented, or is it still under consideration?
Okay, so the Ministry of Agriculture is also working on that measure, and they would be able to provide information in the near future, very soon, on how that measure will be rolled out. So I encourage persons to stay tuned to the various media houses. They would publish the information on that, and of course, that is to boost the agriculture production and support our food basket, basically,
Okay.
and food security.
One of the, or I'd like if possible, if you could give us a breakdown of the classes of people who are, well, right now benefiting from the stimulus package. So we know the tourism sector and hoteliers and so on, but under that umbrella, who benefits? Just for the information. For education of the general public, who exactly benefits?
Okay, so under the payroll support is the employees within the tourism sector, and we know there are employees at all different levels and all different walks of life. And as I said, the contribution is 40%. Government is making a contribution of 40% of their salaries, and the employer is expected to make a contribution towards their salary as well. Under that measure, to say what class or what strata these individuals come from, it would come from a wide cross-section, because I think every home would know somebody who is employed within the hotel industry. So the tourism sector is a very broad-based sector, and it covers a wide span of our population. Thus far, we would have received over 200, I don't have the exact figure, but over 200 applications from businesses under the payroll support. And we have been processing them and disbursing the funds to the company's account. I know a lot of employees have been contacting us to find out if the monies have been paid to the employer, etc. We are sending the money directly to your employer, and the employer is the one that would distribute the money to you, the employees. So I encourage everybody to contact the Human Resource Department from their various workplaces to follow up on this.
Okay. Now, under income support, I want to talk a little bit about fishermen and, of course, farmers involved in trade. Of course, because they are unable to ply their trade, we're not able to operate as we usually do. Is consideration being given to those individuals, and that's specifically speaking to fishermen and farmers?
Okay, from our end, consultation has been held, and I know our policymakers are gathering the data. As I said, data is the biggest challenge for us. We don't have no database where we could say there's X amount of fishermen and they registered with NIS, etc. So data is the biggest challenge because we cannot just say we're giving $500 for fishermen. We must do some sort of analysis. How many fishermen? What is the revenue fall they would have been experiencing, etc., before we come to a determination of how we can support that industry. So, as I said, consideration is being given, and a public announcement will be made.
Okay, all right. So all individuals who are who believe that they have been financially affected as a result of the of COVID-19, there are measures in place to help them. It may not directly be through the Ministry of Finance stimulus package, but you guys are able to redirect them to areas that can help. And what are some of those areas of support other than the under the stimulus package?
Okay, so under the 12 measures that was announced, well, it's 14 measures in all, but the 12, we also have the reduction in the electricity price, right? And hopefully we should see that impact from the end of this month bill. So that is another measure that persons can benefit from.
Right.
In terms of the small business fund, and the small hoteliers facility, that two measures are being, the stakeholders involved is the Grenada Development Bank. NIS National Insurance Scheme is also a stakeholder as well. But what I can ask persons, you can contact us and we can assess your situation. If you think you can qualify on the income support or for businesses, you apply for the payroll support or send us an email, send a letter. We can assess your situation. We can pass it to the policymakers because there's a category that says other tourism-related businesses. I know persons have been asking about the dive sector. There are so many different things that areas that fall on the tourism sector that may not be named out as hotels, restaurants, and bar, etc. So we would take all their queries. We will assess it. We would put the data together so we can pass it to the policymakers and we can pass it to the relevant authorities. Our office is set up to coordinate the measures and also to receive the information that we can pass to the relevant personnel.
Okay, and what is the email address that they can send that email to?
Okay, so they can send the email to COVID Economic Stimulus @gmail.com.
All right, great. So I hope that the people listening, that they take note of that, because there have been a lot of questions, a lot of queries as it relates to the fishermen, the farmers, the vendors, and I like that you mentioned the broad sector that is tourism, but there are a lot of subsectors that fall under that, and the only way that you'll know if you qualify is if you contact the Ministry of Finance, that specific division, to get that information. I also have a question here. When the money is sent to the employer, is the employer notified?
Yes. We are sending official correspondence to notify all applicants, whether successful or not, of their status, whether they qualified or whether they did not qualify. If they qualify, what are their obligations, like I said, with regards to the employee validation forms to be filled. In addition, we have been making telephone calls to persons, notifying them that their application has been successful and they can expect an official correspondence from us. We know we have been receiving numerous calls. I can testify that we have been receiving hundreds of calls in a day, and that's no joke. In one day, I recorded over 300 and something calls. So some persons may call and say, well, they're not getting us. You can send an email, you can send a WhatsApp text message, and we will get back to you on your status. we would notify everybody. For the income support, we would send you an email as well. If we don't have email address for you, we would send a WhatsApp message with your official letter letting you know that you qualified or you did not qualify, and when you can check your account at the bank. As I said, we try our best to limit contact and adhere to all the measures in place to protect us against COVID-19. So we try our best to send the monies directly to your account so you want to limit and reduce the number of physical contact we have in with individuals. I know persons would have said they had applied since the first week in April and they have not received anything as yet. We are still, as we speak, applications are still being processed.
Yeah, well, we would expect that because, I mean, it's a lot. And, of course, you guys are also feeling the effects of COVID-19. And then on top of that, you guys have been working every day so far to ensure that the needs of our Grenadians are met. One of the questions or one of the things that I'd like for us to just touch on quickly, if you have that information available, a ballpark figure of how many applications overall you guys have received thus far.
To date, we would have received in excess of 1,200 applications, and that is both payroll and income support. But we are aware that a lot of persons have not even applied as yet. There, for instance, in the bus, with regards to the bus owners, we know there are over 1,000 buses in Grenada, which means that we have not received all the bus owners' applications to date. Yes, so we are encouraging persons, if you were not aware of the program or if you did not have a chance to apply, it's not too late. You can still apply and we would process your application.
Okay, and in applying, is there a form that can be sent to individuals, or do they just call the number or send an email to the email address?
Okay, so we have a web page which is located on finance.gd. I know as of yesterday we were experiencing some technical difficulties with the website. So in the interim, persons can contact our office and we can email the application forms to you. We also have application forms available at all district revenue offices, including Carriacou, and I must say the people of Carriacou and Petit Martinique are not left behind. We have a person and we have a staff member, at the Carriacou Revenue Office who is also assisting us in implementing all the measures in the islands of Carriacou and Petit Martinique. So persons can contact the district revenue offices. We have application forms there, and you can fill it out and drop it off at the revenue office, and they would get down to our main office down at in St. George's. You can also fill it in online and email it to us. We're hoping that the site will be back up before the end of the week. So once that is back up, we'll notify persons that the website is back up, and you can submit the forms online on the web page as well.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's a lot of information, and you hear people out there clamoring about when the stimulus package is going to take effect, and I mean, it's very disheartening to know that the measures have been put in place, but the people who should take advantage of it have not been doing so. So it's definitely a means to encourage, especially our bus owners, because we know that they have been disadvantaged. Now, one of the more important questions, there are some bus owners who are registered with as taxis as well, so they fall under two categories or provide two functions. What is being done in that regard?
Okay, so in that regard, it's only one category you could apply for if it's one vehicle you have. So, say for instance, I own a bus, I do taxi, I run as a public transport. I can choose whichever medium whether I want to apply as a taxi or whether I want to apply as a public bus. But I would think that you apply under the one that is your primary activity, right? If you own another question that came to us, some persons have more than one bus. They may own two buses. Then you can apply for the two buses once you're the rightful owner of them. And of course, we expect you to have complete an employee validation form at the end, because we do not expect you to be driving the 2 buses on your own.
Okay. All right. That is definitely understood. And have we seen a lot of the people in the tourism sector applying for their taxi drivers and so on that are also bus drivers? And have they identified or listed them as both?
In most cases, we would have seen they apply on the one category. They might declare to us that they do taxi as well, but they would apply on the one medium. We have not had a case where persons try to apply on the 2 categories. What I must say too, under the vendors and in particular the vendors and the same buses and taxi drivers, the challenge right now, that's why some of them may not have received their monies at the bank as yet. We are waiting on NIS registration on them to complete their application process.
Okay. So, well, once NIS registers them, which would be great for them, maybe it's also an opportunity for NIS to reach out to them to discuss how they can continue payments or what category they would fall under, so that in the event, because we have to understand that we may have COVID now, but we are also approaching a hurricane season, and we are uncertain as to what the season will bring, right? So we have to make preparations for that as well, financial preparations for that as well. Now,
that's true.
One of the things that I hear a lot of people asking about, we have a lot of small vendors that do their own personal vending. So they may be selling, whether it's juices or samosas or whatever it may be, religiously, it's their thing. Do they qualify, or are they still encouraged to apply?
We would encourage them to reach out to us. They would not fall directly, because I'm certain that they may not be registered with GTA and the other entities, but they can reach out to us and we would gather the data so we could pass to our policymakers, because we have to remember this was the very first announcement that was made by the Prime Minister on March 20th. And it's the first instance of support to cushion against the effect of COVID-19. As we go forward, these measures would have to be reviewed. We'd also have to review the performance of the economy and the effects of COVID-19 on our society. And new measures may have to be developed to cushion the effects on the population.
Right. Now, of course, they would never forgive me if I don't ask on their behalf. The entertainers that usually, well, I would consider them under tourism. That's just me, because they would do entertainment at the hotels. They would do entertainment on cruise ships and so on when they come in. Are they considered under the stimulus package at all?
Well, it depends on what category they would fall under. They may be able to if they have been paying NIS contribution and now they're unemployed, they might be able to qualify for unemployment benefits. They might be able, some of them do it full scale as a business owner. So they may be able to get financial assistance from the Grenada Development Bank. And as you touch on that, not only the entertainment industry, but even small business persons, now is a time where you may be able to use opportunities from COVID to grow your business, to become more technologically advanced. So now the stores are closed. We don't know what would happen after COVID, but persons may prefer to do business online. They might prefer to order clothes and other goods online, even the groceries online, rather than physically go into the stores. So we have to look at these, the small loan facility, not only just to pay staff, but how you can grow your business and change your business processes during this time to survive, because a lot of things may not go back to how it used to be. So we have to start thinking innovative already we have seen new business ideas coming up. Seamstresses are sewing masks. Persons are doing grocery delivery as a new business now. We have to think as business owners how we can change the way we do business and how we can take advantage of some of these measures to survive and remain sustainable.
All right, I have a question here for you from the live video to Ms. Andrews. Would you say that the Ministry of Finance improved in a significant way in terms of how they do business?
This is a very broad-based question because the Ministry of Finance is an entire ministry, and this COVID-19 have caused us to think outside the box. A lot of things that we used to do paper-based and manually, we have had to change processes. We are working now with skeleton staffing, and we have to meet deadlines. Salaries have to be paid, and I don't think any public servant would have complained they did not get their salary by the end of the month. And we are working with less staff. So that I would say that COVID has brought about a lot of challenges for us, some that we can embrace and improve, and some that we have to revise the whole business process of the ministry, and not only finance, but all ministries and all businesses on a whole have had to reassess how they do things and how they meet their customers.
Okay. Well, this is a lot of information to take in, and I want us to appeal again to the bus drivers. Do you by chance have the figures, because you said there are over 1,000 bus drivers, that much we know. Do you have the figures of who already would have applied as a bus owner under the stimulus package? Because I've seen a lot of comments. I'm not sure if the comments are coming from people who actually own and operate buses, or if it's just general comments or general thoughts. But we have seen a lot of comments from people about the busmen and them benefiting from the stimulus package and them being impacted as a result of the quarantine. Can you give us an idea as to how many of them would have reached out and applied under the stimulus package?
I do not have a raw count on the number of buses. We would have received, I would say on average, more than 500 applications from bus drivers. But we are aware, based on our database, that there are many more that have not applied. Every day we are receiving new applications, whether it's via email, whether it's on the online portal, and we are processing. I know some of the delay in processing and paying out is the data with regards to the NIS registration. We have been contacting some of them to confirm the bus registration number, their bank account information, and certain information that they would have submitted on the application forms. So the process is taking a little while, but I must say that we would have had, and at the end of the day, the best feeling we would have had, you would have mentioned to us that we have been working every day, is when we see an email or a WhatsApp come back with somebody confirming that they would have received it and thank you for the assistance. That's the best feeling we have been getting in office. And I don't think money could buy that feeling. So we know a lot of persons have not received that yet. Some of the bus association presidents would have reached out to us, and they have been taking physical forms, carrying it to their members to fill up, etc.
Okay, well that's good. So we're saying that for the bus owners, it's the NIS registration number, but even if they don't have it, that is being taken care of.
Yes.
And registration is happening with a collaboration of the NIS and the Ministry of Finance. And they would need to have their registration number, their bus registration number, their bank account numbers. What else would they need to have at hand for the registration process?
So what we are asking persons, when you complete the form, the original design of the form did not have room for the bus registration number. Some persons put it in under the request, so they would say, I own a public bus, HAM, and they would quote the number. So we ask you to put in the bus number on the form. we ask you to send us a copy, whether you can scan it and email or you can send it to our WhatsApp number, which is 4160097, a copy of your driver's license and your NIS card if you have one. If you don't have an NIS card, some other form of ID. Persons who work or registered under the GTA, they can send us the GTA registration card, and that would speed up the processing of the applications a lot. Our officers has also been contacting hundreds of bus owners. We would have made physical calls and assist them in completing the form. So we would have been completing the form on their behalf and then asking them to submit the information to us via WhatsApp.
Okay.
But we know we have not reached everybody. Some of the phone numbers are out of service, etc. So I'm encouraging our listeners and viewers who are listening to the program, if you know somebody who owns a bus in your community, just reach out to them and ask them if they are aware of the program and if they have applied.
Okay. Now, are you guys taking into consideration maybe on one of the business days that you set up, I don't know, I want to call it a stall. It won't be a stall, but a kiosk maybe, so that these individuals can come, because we will have bus owners who don't have or may not have access to WhatsApp to send that information or to get a copy of that information to you. So is that maybe up for consideration, where you have a kiosk available, where you yourself can have them, or well, your department can have them do the application on site, and also provide opportunities for them to copy the necessary documents for that application?
Okay, we have not considered that at the moment, and I guess it's because of the entire social distancing and the change in operations in terms of how we do business. But what we would have done, we would have sent physical forms to all our district revenue offices in the various parishes, as I said, including Carriacou. For persons, they can go into the revenue office and collect a form. The officers at the revenue office will be able to assist you in completing the forms. And we have drop boxes that they can just drop it back at the drop box for us, and we would process.
Okay, and the officers are able to do scanning and printing as well?
Okay, so if you do not, they can scan and print at the office. If you do not have access to WhatsApp, you must have some neighbor or some family member in your household who can take a picture and send it to us. And we would have had instances like that.
Okay, all right. For the person on WhatsApp, on the live video, asking how do they filled out a form and they want to know how they get through. That question was already answered, but if you want to just go over it again, or I can inform.
Okay, so we know a lot of persons are querying to find out how far the application would have reached. We are processing every day. Every day we are processing applications and sending forward to the approvers and sending forward to get payments. And every day we are sending information to the bank as well for those that would have qualified and have been approved for payment. So, and we are contacting everybody who have received funds and who have applied as well. Even if you are unsuccessful, we will contact you.
Okay, so you guys will be contacted. Once you've filled out a form and it has been processed, you'll be contacted. Regardless, if you've qualified, if you haven't qualified, you will be contacted.
Yes.
So if you haven't been contacted as yet, it means that your application is still being processed. All right. For the person asking what the WhatsApp number is, I'm just going to put it in the chat box here so everyone can see the WhatsApp number, and the direct number and the email address is also listed in the chat box for the persons asking. But do you have any final words, final encouragements for our listeners and viewers?
Okay, I must, of course, thank all our stakeholders who have been working with us to make this process very smooth, namely the Grenada tourism authority, the various bus association and taxi associations, even the companies. There are companies that have been applied and have been sending words of encouragement to us, etc. The Ministry of Finance, all the staff, and the government of Grenada on a whole, because even the Ministry of Agriculture and all the stakeholders that have to come together to make all these measures a success. We thank them and we say thank you for their support, and we continue to collaborate with them to make sure that this program is a success and all the measures are fully implemented, that Grenadian population can benefit from it. I also forgot to mention about the price control department. We are also working on with them. There are some items that have been listed on for price control, which is hand sanitizer, bleach, hydrogen peroxide, and hand soap. We are also working on them, and they would do their own public education to inform the public on what the price range of these items should be and how they can report anybody that is trying to take advantage during this COVID time.
But while you're on that, and I'm glad that you mentioned it, while you're on that, there has been reports of price gouging, not just in those items that have been listed, but also on food items that people buy on a daily basis. That has also been identified. And I just want to say to the person who's calling in on the overseas line, you'll have to wait until the call has ended, and then I will open the lines again for persons who have questions or general comments that they'd like to make. But while we're on the issue of price gouging, is that desk looking into that section as well? Food items that have the prices have significantly increased as a result of COVID.
We have been in discussions with them, and I know they are working hard. They are checking the various supermarkets and so, even during this COVID times, to compare prices and so. But we must recognize that not all food items are under price control. There's a specific list of items that is on the price control list. So that we have to bear in mind. And I also want to make a plea to the businesses. Please do not take advantage on us as the population by increasing your prices of commodity goods in this time. And we, the public, we have, although yes, we may need, let's say, an item like brown sugar, we need the brown sugar. But if you want to send a pack of brown sugar for $25, the buying power remains in our hands at the same time, even if we do need it in this time.
Yes.
Right?
You're absolutely right. Sometimes we forget how much power we hold as people. So you're absolutely right. But thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us. I mean, this is a lot of information, and I thought it was necessary. Of course, we have our Honorable Prime Minister who will be here tomorrow, and he will be giving us some general information as it relates to the economy. We know that revenue collection is at an all-time low, and we, of course, want to know how that's going to affect our development as a people. So he'll be available tomorrow to speak with us on that and the way forward. But of course, we know that you guys are his support system, basically, in getting things done in this time. So we want to say again, as Grenadians, of course, and as the Hard Talk family, we want to express our heartfelt thank you to you and your entire team, that entire team that has been working endlessly at the Ministry of Finance to ensure that our financial needs are met.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having us, and I encourage everyone to please be safe.
All right. Well, thank you so much for calling. You have a wonderful day and stay safe.
Thank you.
All right. Guys, and there you had it, Miss Chanel from the Ministry of Finance, giving us information on the stimulus package. For those of you who would have arrived late or a little later than when we began, the number to call, the number for the help desk, would be 416-0097. So you can call or send a WhatsApp message, 440-0515. You can also send an email to COVID Economic Stimulus, and let me spell that out. It's COVIDEconomicStimulus at gmail.com. And remember that the application form can be found at finance.gd. They did express that they are experiencing or were experiencing some technical difficulties yesterday, but today, hopefully it's up and running, so you can complete your application forms there, or you can go to your district revenue office and the officer there will assist you in the completion of the form. So the person asking about tour operators, that was also discussed. I believe that they fall under income support, but of course you do have to contact the desk and let them advise you and let them provide you with the information that is needed. So we're going to open the lines. We have about 15 minutes remaining. We're going to open the lines for those of you who want to call and make general comments, or you have questions that you need to ask. But we also want to remind you, all of our listeners and viewers, that tomorrow from 10:30 we have our Honorable Prime Minister. He's going to be speaking with us here. So remember, no calls. We are unable to take calls, but you can post your questions as you've been doing on the live feed in the comment section, and we will be more than happy to answer them for you. Of course, we'll get our WhatsApp questions or WhatsApp messaging system up and running tomorrow. It was down today, I'm not sure why, but we'll get it up and running tomorrow so we can take your questions. The WhatsApp number is 440-7377. Save that number, keep it in your call log, keep it in your contacts so you can send a quick message, a quick question via WhatsApp if you have one. But he will be here tomorrow speaking about the way forward during these, as I hear people saying, COVIDious times, during the COVID-19 pandemic, how it affects our economy, our revenue collection, how it affects finances altogether. And I must say that people can say what they want, but I prefer to be going through this economic struggle with somebody who has been through it before, who has taken us through it before, and we have come out victorious. So call me biased if you want to. I don't care. So at the end of the day, we must understand that we are all in this together. And as that poem would have rightfully said, we may be riding the same wave or we may be going through the same storm, but we are not in the same boat. We must all understand that and take that into consideration. I understand because I know that there are some people out there struggling, and I cannot even begin to relate to how they feel and to how they are going through this situation, how they're coping, and we've spoken here from the very beginning about people who are suffering psychologically with the effects of COVID-19, and how important it is to ensure that you reach out to people. And I hear a lot of people saying that this time will test friendships and loyalties, and that's really not very true. If you're trying to test somebody's loyalty to you during this time, or somebody's friendship during this time, it's probably not the best situation, because while you may be going through a difficult time or a difficult situation, and you expect people to reach out to you, you don't really understand, or you may never understand what they are probably going through as well. So we kind of have to look at it on the two sides of the coin. For the person asking about the $800, that $800 per month is for the bus owners. they didn't specify under the other areas how much the other sectors were making. We know that under the payroll support, the government is putting 40% towards salary payments, and the employer must put a percentage as well to support the income of their employees. But as it relates to payroll support under the busmen, that $800 is specific to them. If that applies to all the other individuals or classes under the payroll, the income support, I can't say yes or no because that was not touched. All right. So the $800 is for the busmen. And of course, this is an appeal to all of the bus drivers, bus owners, bus operators, conductors listening. It's a good chance for you to encourage each other if they have not yet applied for support under the stimulus package. It's a good time to do so, right? If you have not been registered with the NIS, that does not restrict you from benefiting, because arrangements, collaborations have been made between that desk and the NIS to ensure that you guys are registered with the NIS. And of course, it's also an opportunity for you guys to reach out to NIS now that you've been registered and find out what you need to do to continue benefiting from the NIS. So you continue paying the NIS and you're sick of it, you can't run your bus, you're not disadvantaged. You can, under the NIS, apply for a sick leave. So you see, there's so many other benefits, and there's so many linkages between the different sectors that we don't really understand. So sometimes we look at things at face value and we condemn it without really looking in depth and really understanding what the benefit of it is. And sometimes it's the fault of institutions, and it's the fault of government organizations for not really putting the information out there. I mean, we have to look at it always, right? Maybe in some way they can spread more information or find more ways to get the information out there, but it's also the responsibility of the general public, if the information is to your interest, that you seek it as well. All right? And that's why it's so important to go through the proper channels. Go through the proper channels. And I keep saying that, and I will continue to say go through the proper channels, because that is the only way that you're going to be able to get information to help. Sometimes we spend so much time condemning, we spend so much time looking for loopholes, we spend so much time criticizing, we spend so much time just bringing down each other, that we aren't very helpful to the system. And we aren't providing the support that is necessary for our benefit. For the person asking how many months, it's every month. So $800 within the 3-month period. There's a 3-month period. And that $800 is for 1 month. Okay? So let's take advantage of that. Remember, the lines are open. We have 10 more minutes remaining. Well, not really 10, about 5. So I'll take a call or two. The number to call is 440-7377. If you are local, if you're in the diaspora and you want to give us a call, the number to call is 347-329-3101. So we're going to take a few calls and hear what you have to say.
You're listening to Hard Talk Grenada via www.hardtalkgrenada.com.
The government of Grenada, Carriacou and Petite Martinique is asking all residents who have respiratory symptoms, including cough, shortness of breath, difficulty breathing, or fever, to get tested for COVID-19. Protect your family and yourself. Make the call 538-4787 or 458-4787. Get tested. Save your life. Save my life. This has been a message from the Ministry of Health.
And of course, we want to appeal to the owners of businesses, small business, whether it's in tourism or a bus driver or whatever it may be. I know that the opportunity is there and the opportunity is available, and I feel like I must say this, for you to benefit from the income support. But there may be some of you who don't need, who can manage through the 3-month period without accessing the stimulus package, even though it's available to you. If that is the case, I would say that you don't have to. You know, I just, I feel like I need to say that because there are other people who are really, really, really desperately in need, and we're looking at people who do the little roadside vending, those school vendors and so on. And maybe that $800, that $1,600, you know, can benefit somebody else. I just feel like it's necessary for us to say that because you may have been affected. And like we say, everyone is affected differently. It's not the same for all of us. So you may not have to run your bus for 3 months and you're not financially disadvantaged. And if that is the case, then maybe you shouldn't dip into the stimulus package fund, even though you qualify, because that money can be reallocated to somebody else who really needs it. And I just feel like I needed to say that because there are a lot of people out there who are really very disadvantaged as a result of this, you know, and who may not fall under the wing of the stimulus package. And of course, it's not logical reasoning. It's not right for us to make people believe that government is going to be able to support everyone. That's not going to happen. In nowhere in the world is that ever going to happen. In no country in the world is that ever going to happen. Even America, that is able to print money and to support its own economy, they can't do it. A lot of people are looking at Trinidad and saying, oh, well, look at what Trinidad is able to do for their people. But we have to also remember that Trinidad prints their own money too, yeah? So take that into consideration. But if you're not too disadvantaged financially as a result of the coronavirus and its effects on doing business, then I would say then maybe you should leave that there to be reallocated to someone else. Or even if you're accessing it, but you don't really need it, but you're using it for a good cause, to feed families in your area or to give some assistance to people who really need it, then yeah, that's a good thought. But it's good to appeal to people. They may not agree with what I'm saying, but at least the appeal is there. The thought has been inserted. All right? It would be very good if after putting the money on the account that they would notify persons. But they have been, Mr. Moraine, that's in the chat. Maybe you joined us late, but they have been once and you have to, please, I'm begging, Grenadians, on behalf of these individuals, human beings, Grenadians with families who are equally affected, please give them time. They've been working around the clock. It's difficult for them too to be doing in a month what they're not even accustomed to doing in a month, or to be completing in a week's time what it would normally take a month or 2 months to do. So we have to give them credit and we have to be patient. You know, I know we are all, or most of us are in need, but we have to be patient. So yes, Mr. Morin, they have been contacting. If you are to be a recipient of the benefit, or if you have applied for the benefit and you have not received a call, it is either because your call is on the way or the application is still being processed. Because as Miss Andrews would have said, they are contacting everyone, whether you have qualified or not. So don't take the fact that you have not been contacted as as a sign that you don't qualify. That is not what it means. Everyone who has qualified or has not qualified, they will be contacted regardless. All right. But please make sure that when you are applying, to make things a lot easier, now that you have the information, all right, ensure that you put your bus registration number, you get a copy of your driver's license, you get a copy of your bank account number, and right, and determine what is, and put that information in there. There's a comment here that says, but how can you determine who is in need or not? All that glitters is not gold. Right, but we're not saying we're determining who needs or not. We're never going to know who needs. What we're appealing, or what I'm saying is, if the individual knows, all right, nobody is determining anybody's needs, all right? If an individual knows that they do not need, this is not us saying that the Ministry of Finance must determine who needs or not. Nobody can determine anybody else's need. I may be looking all great, pretty in makeup, well dressed and driving whatever it is, and I may be more in need than anybody else, you know. So nobody has a right really to determine who needs or not, right? But if the individual knows that they are not really in need, or they do not need to dip into the stimulus package, then, because we have public servants who own buses, we have public servants who operate buses, and that has been public knowledge, you know. Maybe they don't need to dip into the stimulus package, you know. So these are all things to consider. But if the individual knows that they don't need it, maybe that can be reallocated to somebody who is in more dire need. And that's all I'm saying. All right. But of course, like I said, we ride in the same storm. We're not in the same boat. We are all under different circumstances. As difficult as the situation may be, we are all going to deal with it in a different way. Like we've been saying from the very beginning, and in the words of Mr. Bola, one size is not going to fit all. But at the same time, we all have to be flexible, every single one of us, to meet the needs. Before I close, very quickly, I want to bring to the attention of the public, and of course to education officials as well. I received a phone call yesterday from a very concerned parent of a I'm not going to say the name of the parent, so don't ask me who. And I'm not going to say the name of the school, don't ask me who either. But I want to make it public knowledge that there's a school, a very prominent primary school in St. George. The individual has 2 daughters that attend that school in different grades, and her complaint was that the children have not had an interaction with their teacher from the time school has closed to now. And an interaction meaning that a lot of the teachers have been having Zoom classes with their students and their parents. And I must commend the teachers of the Seventh-day Adventist primary school. I'm not biased, but that's the school my children attend. And the teachers have been wonderful. I'm being honest in this statement, because they have been in constant communication with the students. My children are now fully engaged with the MSTAR program that they utilize every single day. They log in at 9:30 and they access the work that the teachers have available for them. My children have been having Zoom assemblies, right? At 9:30 they log into Zoom and they have their assembly. And I must commend them for their interaction with parents, because on Friday, my son's teacher would have had a training session for parents via Zoom on how to log into and navigate through the MSTAR platform. So I must commend them. They have also been using a lot of supplementary sites that provide analytics on how the children have been working and what level they're at, and suggesting work that they can do to keep them occupied. So I must commend them on that. But then I must also say that the parent that contacted me yesterday has expressed that her children have not been receiving any support in terms of contact with their teacher. She's not in a position where she can provide the support that the children need, and she is in need of that support. So I'm urging teachers to not let our nation's children fall through the cracks. If you are unable as a teacher to provide support with the use of technology, there are avenues through the Ministry of Education. You have the numbers of parents who are technologically inclined who can assist you. Please utilize all of the available avenues to provide support to the students. And that's all I'm going to say on that. So, guys, remember tomorrow we have our Honorable Prime Minister who is going to be speaking with us from 10 o'clock. So tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a family member, so that we can all be engaged in conversation with our Prime Minister and we can get some answers on what's going on with our economy and how we move forward. Guys, in whatever you say and whatever you do, be safe and be secure. I always love talking with you and never about you. Please do enjoy the remainder of your day and stay safe.
Stay up to date with all that's happening with the new National Party, NNP. Send us a message via text or WhatsApp on 405-8683 with your name, email, and constituency. Stay in the know with NNP. Get updated.
I say, nah, man. Wood. Yo, this is the Dan Man Lindy telling you to be COVID-19 safe. Stay home. That way we could play a mass sooner rather than later. Everything will come to pass. You know the thing go. Mass must play. How you mean?
Boom shakalaka, this is Ledneck from the West Point family, reminding all Grenadians to be COVID-19 smart. Stay home, it's just for a short time. We will be back on our feet soon, alright? Bless.
I'm so glad to see you. You see, I've been thinking about this case between government and Grenneck, and I need to better understand a few things. You see, some people say government to Grenneck to court, and others say Grenneck to government to court, and he say, she say. So who really took who to court?
I know it can be confusing, Suzanne, but it is simple. If you study the ruling from the court hearing which took place in Washington, it clearly says that WRB, the company that owns Grenneck, took government to court.
So why Grenneck decided to take government to court?
For what it's worth, government decided to change the law so that the price of electricity can be cheaper for Grenadians. I guess the company felt that they would no longer be making the fat profit if people are paying less for electricity, as when they had full control over price and everything else. So guess what? The company decided that they wanted government to take back the company. They took government to court and demanded that the people of Grenada must buy back the company and pay them a sizable amount too. But you know what? They could only have done this because of the contract that the NDC government signed in 1994, that if any government passed any law to make the price of electricity cheaper, the state had to buy back the shares.
Interesting. You see, that's why I always trust you to explain these things, making it simple for me to understand.
So what WRB wants government to do is to buy back all the shares that the NDC government sold them in 1994. The contract they signed with the NDC government then does not allow any competition, which is why our rates are so high. And what is worse, the then government agreed with them that if government had to buy back the shares, the price would have to be a lot more than it is worth, and the company must decide the selling price.
Pure manje popo. That was a real giveaway, man.
You hit the nail on the head, Suzanne. Government has no choice based on the court ruling. The court said that Grenada has to pay this foreign-based company based on the contract the NDC government signed in 1994. But guess what? Even if the NDC administration signed this bad deal, I'm happy that the NNP administration is prepared to pay up. And credit must be given to them that just a few days after the court ruled, government has already announced that our electricity bill will be reduced by 30% for the next 3 months because of COVID-19. My dear, all things work together for good.
I can't agree with you more. I fully agree.
I think government should just pay Grenleg their money based on what the court says. And let's keep moving on to cheaper electricity costs. Remember, we have the highest electricity rates in the region.
COVID-19 spreads from person to person through the droplets that are produced when someone coughs or sneezes, which makes it easy to spread between people in close contact. Now let's get prepared to stay healthy. To reduce your chance of catching or spreading COVID-19, practice these simple everyday preventative measures. Droplets can also land on surfaces, so ensure that you wash your hands frequently for a minimum of 20 seconds or sing the happy birthday song twice. Avoid touching your face, especially your eyes, nose, and mouth. If soap and water are not readily available, use an alcohol-based hand sanitizer with an alcohol content between 60 and 90%. 70% is ideal. When you cough or sneeze, cover your nose and mouth with a flexed elbow or a tissue. Dispose of the tissue immediately and then wash your hands. If you notice someone has a fever and cough, or other symptoms of respiratory illness, avoid close contact when possible. Let's all do our part to ensure that each and every Grenadian remains healthy. Our health is our collective responsibility.
Protect yourself and our community from COVID-19. Wash your hands frequently with soap and water for at least 20 seconds. If soap and water are not available, use an alcohol-based hand sanitizer with at least 70% alcohol. Use a tissue when blowing your nose, sneezing, or coughing. Immediately discard the tissue properly and wash or sanitize your hands. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Let's do our part to ensure that each and every Grenadian remains healthy. To stay up to date, visit the Government of Grenada's webpage or the Ministry of Health's Facebook page. For more information, contact the Ministry of Health's hotline by calling 53-VIRUS. This has been a public service announcement brought to you by the Ministry of Health.
5 things you need to know about self-isolation. Stay home. If you are told to self-isolate, it means staying at home, not going to work, school, or other public places, and you should not have any visitors. Separate yourself. If you live with others, then you need to stay in a well-ventilated bedroom with the door shut. If you have to share a bathroom, then use it after everyone else. Don't share towels and toiletries, as this may put others at risk. Call ahead. If you develop symptoms such as a fever or cough, then seek advice first by calling the Ministry of Health's hotline at 538-4787 or 458-4787. Please do not show up at a medical center or hospital, as this may put others at risk. Take care with waste. If you test positive, your waste should be double bagged and disposed of separately. Create a buddy system. If you live on your own, you can plan with friends and family to check in with each other and run essential errands if one becomes sick. Once sick, they should leave groceries on the doorstep. Why it's important. COVID-19 causes a mild illness for 4 out of 5 persons. Self-isolating will help protect the older generation and those who may have underlying health problems from getting infected.
Grenada receives another shipment of medical supplies from China. We'll have details to this story and more in the National Report. With the details to the news for Monday, May 4th, 2020, I am Rikisha St. Louis. Grenada has received its second shipment of medical supplies in a matter of weeks from China to assist in the fight against COVID-19. A donation was made recently by the government of the People's Republic of China, and on Sunday, the Chinese company Alibaba made another sizable donation. Chinese Ambassador Dr. Zhao Yongchen says this speaks to the support not only of the Chinese government, but also private companies in that country.
We conformantly stand with the Grenadian government and Grenadian peoples. In the difficult time, we will take a strong cooperation and collaboration with Grenada. We hope Grenada can overcome the virus.
During a handover ceremony at the Maurice Bishop International Airport on Sunday, Health Minister Honorable Nicholas Steele says the friendship between Grenada and China continues to grow in this period, even while China is still dealing with its own challenges.
To date, the Chinese the government of the People's Republic of China and the people of China have been one of our strongest allies in assisting us in this battle against COVID-19, as you yourself are recovering. Today is another example of that, and also an example of private sector from China coming in to help us in Grenada and in the Ministry of Health. So on behalf of the Ministry of Health and the people of Grenada, I would like to thank you, and through you to your government of the People's Republic of China and to Alibaba. May our friendship continue to grow from strength to strength. Thank you.
Minister for Foreign Affairs Honorable Peter David, who was part of the welcoming delegation, commended China for being a reliable partner in Grenada's development. He says Grenada is happy that China has overcome the worst of the crisis and looks forward to continued growth in the relationship when the challenges are behind us.
I want to thank Alibaba, through you, a very important Chinese company, for the assistance, and to say that the Grenadian people will forever be grateful to the People's Republic and to you, Ambassador, for the work you're doing on our behalf. We have been working very hard, learning from the experience of the Chinese people in the fight against COVID-19, and we must say that despite the fact that you had your challenges, you still found it possible to help us with our challenges.
Grenada has recorded its 21st laboratory case and its youngest COVID-19 patient over the weekend. Health Minister Honorable Nicholas Steele says the latest case is a young man in his early 20s who is employed with the same company as the 4 previously confirmed cases. Grenada now has 7 active cases and 13 medical recoveries.
This most recent case is a male in his early 20s who is also an employee of the same company as 4 of our previously announced cases. His household has been in quarantine, and so are the other possible contacts of case number 15. Already, all of the employees of that company and their contacts have been tested, with most returning negative. However, given the science of the disease, they continue to be monitored based on their period of possible exposure.
Minister Steele gave the assurance that the ministry will continue to mitigate the spread of the virus in communities. He says businesses that are permitted to operate must follow the established protocols.
Health officials continue to be vigilant with their contact tracing and are still working to determine the original point of contact for these workplace cases. As we discussed before, that company is still closed and must demonstrate adherence to safety measures before it is allowed to reopen. We will ensure that every business that opens up or requests permission to open does so with observance to the strictest levels of health and safety protocols. We have developed guidelines for health and safety in the workplace in consultation with unions, employers, and other stakeholders. Each workplace must demonstrate that it will adhere to those guidelines in order to receive permission to operate.
This is the National Report. We'll have more news after the break.
Distance makes the difference. Keeping the nation positive, we can do this together by uniting apart, reaching out to you at home and in the diaspora every Wednesday night from 8 to 10 right here on GIS. Join me. If we hold on together, our dreams will never die. Be a part of flattening the fear curve and replacing it with hope and positivity, sharing the stories and the expectation of a brighter tomorrow. We can beat this virus. Remember, we are in this together. Distance makes the difference. DMD, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. here on GIS. Sharing is caring.
Welcome back. Grenada's Labour Minister, Honourable Peter David, has reaffirmed his government's commitment to the working class of Grenada, and even more so during the current COVID crisis. During his virtual message in observance of Labour Day on Friday, May 1st, the Labour Minister made reference to the stimulus packages initiated by his government to help protect jobs. To date, over 700 Grenadians have benefited.
This government is committed to spending millions to make sure that our people are not set back too far and that we can hold our community together, determined to rise from this as a more united and stronger people. This government is committed to ensuring no job is lost in the public sector and that every payment is met. Some recalibration may be required to ensure that we protect each and every job. And we are certain that the cooperation and understanding of all parties we shall overcome and triumph. I call on leaders in our private sector, and I am confident that we have a core of very progressive leaders now in that sector to seek to safeguard your workers as well.
He says government has already engaged different sectors, including private sector organizations and trade unions, informing them that going forward, there are certain conditions that must be in place to protect the health and safety of the worker and to ultimately safeguard the country.
We are working with them, seeking their input and feedback on their draft document that outlines reasonable guidelines, expectations, and timelines to protect workers' safety. Finalized manuals will be circulated to each sector with the specific health protocols that must be present in the workplace. As a responsible and reasonable government, we assure you that we will do our part to actively enforce those protocols as far as is legally and practically possible.
In related news, and finally, President of the Grenada Trades Union Council, Andre Lewis, salutes the government, members of the COVID-19 response team and frontline workers for the work that they have been doing in keeping the population informed about COVID-19. The GTUC president made the remarks during his virtual May Day message, which was as a result of the limited state of emergency. The effects of the threat of COVID-19 has resulted in the trade union for the first time in its 65 years addressing its membership via virtual means.
We commend the government for taking the bold decisions to impose the state of emergency and the resulting limitations on some of our civil liberty, all aimed at helping to protect the lives, health and safety of the population. We say no pain, no gain. We especially thank the leadership in the Ministry of Health and their staff for the steadfast commitment, especially in the early stages. Their communications with the public helped give us assurances and a certain level of confidence.
Special mention was made of key personnel whom the union president believes deserve extra commendation for their role in the fight against the virus.
We want to especially thank Dr. Francis Martin. We want to especially thank Dr. Donald Noel and his team of people, healthcare professionals who are directly in the line of fire. We commend your colleagues for your invaluable contribution and sacrifices to our nation. As we say, we commend the leadership under Dr. George Mitchell and Honorable Nicholas Steele as Minister for Health. This was unplanned. This is something that no one has planned for. And we must give kudos for the way that they have responded so far.
President of the Grenada Trades Union Council, Andre Lewis. That story just ended the national report for today, Monday, May 4th, 2020. Let's recap the top story. Grenada receives another shipment of medical supplies from China. On behalf of the entire news team here at the Government Information Service, I am Rakisha St. Louis saying thank you for joining us. Until next time.
Stay up to date with all that's happening with the new National Party, NNP. Send us a message via text or WhatsApp on 405-8683 with your name, email, and constituency. Stay in the know with NNP. Get updated.